Hey everybody, it's Gail, and I'm super excited today because we are going to start putting together one of the most ubiquitous 1970s crochet patterns on the internet. I have seen it all over the internet for ages, and it is this 1970s butterfly shawl. It calls itself a shawl. This thing is a blanket. But, if we call it a shawl, we can wear it on a plane. So I'm sure that was not their thinking, but that was my thinking. No, this is a shawl. It's totally not a blanket I'm sneaking onto the plane. So this is made out of chenille yarn, and I did some research, and the Lily chenille it is calling out is just the chenille yarn we know today. That is a super bulky chenille, and I am using Hobbii Toucan Sprinkle, and I went with this one because of the fact that it's got little sprinkles. It made me very happy. And you need 4 colors for this. And so what I have to get us started, and I've actually got a chunk of it going right now. I've got 5 in color A. I have 5 in color D, which isn't here yet because I somehow missed ordering it with the rest of the colors. I have 5 in color C, and then I have 1 in color B. And that seems a little odd, I know, but it's just color B is really more of an accent color than it is an overall color. And it's hard to see on the original pattern photo where color B is necessarily. But actually, C and D are kind of hard to see too, because it's a lot of reds and then this green, which I think looks great, but for understanding purposes, not that great. So I have 4 very different colors. I have this green, color B is purple, color C is blue, color D is black. And the way that we make this is you're going to make medallions. So, and I can tell you because I've got it laid out on the card table out in the living room, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make 3 large medallions. And then from there, you're going to make 4 medium medallions. And then you're going to start joining those. But the join is a little bit tricky because you do 1 round of edging around a set of them, and then you add in the others on the outside of the edging and then edge around them more. But don't worry, we're going to go over and I'm going to walk you through that in the next bit of the video. I'm not going to try to just explain it verbally. I'm also going to be taking photos of each portion of the shawl as it is joined according to the instructions, and that will be available on my website as just photos so that you can see what it looks like to build it, because there is no layout guide in the pattern, which that was a big mistake if you ask me, but nobody asked me. I wasn't alive then. Last thing before we cut over to the really fun stuff, the pattern says you can use a K and Q hook to achieve gauge, but at no point does it tell you that you need to use the K hook specifically. It only gives you a gauge, and that gauge only works for me with the Q hook because the gauge is 2 single crochets to 1.5 inches. So I really don't think you need the K hook, but I might change my mind on that as we keep working because I haven't gotten to the far end of the pattern yet where maybe we do use a K hook in a couple of places, and they gave us that 2 single crochet to 1.5 inches gauge because most of the shawl needs to be that gauge. Anyway, the next thing you're going to see is how things are looking as I lay them out, and we will go from there. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so here on the table right now, all joined together, I have these are the 3 large motifs, and then 2 medium motifs. The other 2 medium motifs are right here. The pattern says medallions. I'm probably going to be saying motifs instead because they're the same damn thing. So what I've done, I joined them together. I sewed all of the motifs together using sewing thread as instructed, and then when I tied it off, I made sure to knot it in a couple of places and then wove in the end of the sewing thread just to be safe. And then I worked this first round of edging here in the blue, And now what I need to do, according to the instructions, is come over here, and then I need to line up the other two medium motifs on the large motif according to, you line it up with the half double crochet you make in the final round of the large motif, and then you count upwards, and that's where you start the attachment. It's in the instructions, you'll see it. And then once both of those are sewn on, then 2 more rounds of edging around the whole thing. I do want to note, I will probably go through and just kind of point out I found 2 errors so far. I forget what the first one is, which, going great. But on this one, when it tells you to start the edging, it wants you to decrease over every join. So every place where the 2 meet where you've sewn it, you're going to decrease over that. It says it's 12 decreases. It's not. For this part, it is only 8 because you only have 4 places where joins are happening, and they only happen twice, so that's 8. So, just to let you know that. And I'm going to go and sew on the other medium medallions and get the rest of the edging on, and then I will come back and show you that, and then we will move on to the next phase. You're supposed to line it up so that they're on the front of the large medallions on the ends here. I mentioned there's no schematic, and this is where it's really fucking me up because I don't know what they want the front to mean, and also it didn't tell me that I needed to mark where the half double crochets were and then use that to lay it out. At least not until I read it as the end of the edging round 1. So I'm looking at this, and my half double crochets on these large medallions on the ends are actually already attached. So I am hoping, after a lot of back and forth between reading the pattern, looking at things, counting and everything, I'm hoping that what needs to happen is, I think these 2 medium medallions need to come down like this, and they tell you, you find the half double crochet, and then you count 6 stitches, I believe they say down, so 6 stitches down, and that's where you're supposed to put these. So maybe a little more, because like it's supposed to be up where the first stitch is. They say find the half double crochet close to the top of the medallion. So this is the beginning of the medallion. This was the top originally. The first half double crochet is like right around here, and the other one is like right around here, but I'm supposed to be counting down to place the mediums, but also the medium medallions are supposed to be laid out on this part so that the pointed stitches, which are just like 3 stitches in one space, are pointed down. And so this is sewn together and marked so that this is the bottom. It says aim it towards the bottom. So if this is the bottom, then the front would have to be up here somewhere. And this is getting complicated already, and this is just the first one of it. So what I'm going to do, like I said, I think I figured it out. I think I need to figure out exactly where to place this, and I think it's something like this, because that to me would be the front then. That would be the front, this would be the back, this would be dropping down. I think this is meant to be somewhere near the shoulder, although the elongated medallion that is coming up soon, I know goes in the middle here. So, I'm going to pin these, sew them, get the other 2 rounds of the edging on, and hope for the best. This got complicated fast. I will be back when I have the next part of the sewing done. It has taken 3 tries, I think, to get that one and that one onto here in what I think is the correct position. The instructions just say to attach the medium medallions to the front, but don't really advertise where the front is, and so I went with the theory that if these 2 medium medallions were supposed to be positioned so that the cluster stitch is pointed downward, then that must be the front, because if it's going down, it's going down the back, front's going to be the other way. So that part's done, God, I hope. Next trick, so up here we have, this is an elongated medallion, this is a small medallion, same thing on the other side. Instructions are for the small medallions to go in the inverse curve of the join between the center back medallion and the medium. And then the elongateds are supposed to go into the curve created by the quote-unquote front medallions. So I think what we're going for here is going to look a little something... There we go. I think it's going to look like that when they're in. And then you do edging around those, and then you go on to the next part. And the thing that's really giving me a problem is that I can't figure out how to look at the one pattern photo we have and translate that to what I'm seeing right now. And I'm not sure why that is, because you see the whole back of it, so it seems like I should at least be able to tell, you know, like the bottom row, but even that doesn't look the same as this. This is 5, and that I think is 6 panels. But maybe as I continue on and things start getting pulled together as you sew them together and you start adding edging, it will finally come together. I don't know. We will see. Now that I have this part done, I'm going to go get it attached and hopefully not have to undo a bunch of it. Okay, so I've gotten the small medallions in place at the top here, and then the elongated medallions in the corners there. They are actually laid out the same. That one's just curling a little bit right now. So I have to make 4 small medallions, and I know 2 of them come down here and are supposed to meet at this point. And then the other 2 small medallions are supposed to go above the small medallions. And so I think that means they go right here. I thought it would be here and here because of the open space, but the more I think about it, I think it's 2 right there above the other small medallions, and then 2 small medallions down here. I haven't made the other small medallions yet. I took a break from this project so I wouldn't throw it into the trash. So we're gonna see. I will say, I want to say something positive in this whole mess, which is that the width of it is dead on perfect for what it looks like on the pattern. I think that part we got right on the first try. It's just, this thing is a beast. So I shall continue to slay the beast. So as I was coming in to put these 4 small medallions into place, you remember I thought they were going to go here and here, and then there and there, or possibly there and there. I changed my mind again reading it for the 9th time, because these are meant to be at the tip here, and then it says the small medallions go on top of the other small medallions, which would be these, because it's like the small medallions you just sewed into place. So I think this is correct, as always. I mean, I can't even imagine how many times I've said that in this project so far, but at this point, we're just, if it looks vaguely like it's gonna look like the photo when we're done, I'm going with it. And this looks like it'll get us closer than the other way. Although maybe it doesn't quite look like that to you. I've just been staring at it for a lot of hours. So I'm going to go sew these in. I'm going to do the edging. And the edging for this part is weird because it says start at the top of the back, which would be up center there between those 2. And then it just is like, and when you get to the medium medallion, start working downward. I'm like, but we started there. That's way over there. But, you know, it is what it is. Onward, upward, throughward, whatever. Okay, so I've not started working on the shawl today, although I'm hoping today is the last day I'm working on it. I have 4 medallions and the rest of the edging to do, so I'm hoping I can finish it today and just be fucking done with it. But before the white hot rage settles on me, as it has been the last few days, I wanted to take a quick moment and just say that the issues that this pattern has, the errors in the number of decreases, I just realized today that there's an error in the amount of yarn you need. You do not need 3 skeins of color D. You only need 1 skein, and you're not going to use the whole thing. And so there are these pattern errors that can happen in any pattern. But the number one problem with this pattern is that it is shoddily written. It is not written well. The explanations are not good. There should have been a schematic with this thing, just given it's all medallions you got to sew together. And I just want to make it clear that that is not the fault of the seller. And I say this because there is a problem I see on Etsy sometimes where people will buy a vintage pattern and then they find it difficult because maybe it's as badly written as the one we're working on. Maybe it's because they don't know what the old terminology is. Maybe, a bunch of reasons. But then they go and they 1-star the seller because they don't understand the pattern. And that's not cool. That's not fair. It is not the seller's job to make the pattern understandable to a modern audience. The seller is selling you the pattern as is. Sellers who take the time to reformat patterns and make them more legible, I really appreciate them because it does make it a little bit easier that way to work with a vintage pattern. And in this case, I actually have a copy of the pattern that's just a scan of the original paper pattern. And it was like 2 columns from a magazine, most likely. It's very legible. That's all I'm asking when I get vintage patterns, is that if you're just going to scan originals, that they're readable and I can use them. And then the pattern that I'm actually linking to in the basement, if you want to try to get through this monster, that seller took the time to break it out and make it easier to read. And I can tell you, because I have both versions, that it is an exact copy of the text from the original, which is exactly what you want if you're going to reformat. Like, seriously, don't try to update stuff. Just let it go into the universe. But I do want to just say, like, I don't think that, I know for a fact the problems here are not that the seller did something wrong or misrepresented what the original pattern was. This is just a badly written pattern, and you run into those sometimes, and we hit a big one. So now, having said that, I am gonna go get those other 4 medallions made and attached, and then there's short rows involved coming up, which, what the fuck, man? Like, this is the last thing this pattern needs, is short rows. And then it's edging, and then it's picot edging, because of course, after all of that, I am now going to have to do picot stitch and chenille yarn. So there's the white hot rage. Oh, it's bubbling up. Yes, let the spite get me through this. We'll see you in a bit. I just added the next to last small medallions, and so there's one right there, and there's one on the other side, and then there's one more set of small medallions that are supposed to go under this one on both sides. But, shocking no one, the phrasing on the instructions is a little confusing because it says to attach these, and then we need to do some short rows. And it says to do the short rows, I'm supposed to count how many stitches are left hanging, and then do a join and a decrease and a couple of other things to make the short rows. But I don't really understand it, because I think they want me to do it here where the other medallion is eventually going to fit, and it'll sort of tuck in a little bit. But this is a shawl, and when you say to do the work on the hanging stitches, it's all hanging stitches because it's a fucking shawl. So I'm going to take its stab at also doing some short rows up here where there's still a number of stitches between these two medallions that I'm still not sure are in the right place, but that's where they're going to live now. Do it over on that side, which is its mirror, and then maybe also do it down here, where these are not 100% together yet. So what I'm working on is the fact that by the time I'm done, I'm supposed to have 14 groups of these double crochet points, basically. And so, gonna try to figure out, I have 10 now, so I need 4. So if it's 1 and 1, and then, I don't know, maybe it's 1 and 1, and that gets me there, or, I don't know. It's, at this point, I am just flying by the seat of my pants a little bit, because I'm tired of trying to de-riddle every single instruction, so I'm gonna go do the best I can, and I will be back to show that to you a little bit later. Alright, so here we are. This is the piece that was just added. And you can see here, this is where the short row started. I was looking at this again and I realized they want the middle section. When they say hanging, they meant the medallion, I think. So I went and I just sized it so that I worked it according to the short row, starting 3 stitches from the first decrease, and then you come up, you work 4 double crochets into the middle stitch, you come down, you work a decrease here, and then you end off just after the decrease. So that's what it meant by hanging stitches, like the stitches that are on the medallion. I did the same thing over here. It's hard to see, of course, because it is the lining is blue, which matches, but I also went ahead and did a little bit of work down here where I sort of worked with the same basic idea of a short row, except I worked all the way around this bottom part here, and I added more of the 4 double crochet cluster stitch. So, yeah, there's my thumb. So these are actually additional. Probably didn't need them, but too bad I'm here. And then up at the top here, I went ahead and I was gonna add those cluster stitches, and then I decided I would rather just do 2 rows of short rows so that I could pull in these edges a little more here in the center. And then also, like right there, you can see it. And I did the same on the other side, because this part here, where the medallions with the black backing are supposed to be the middle of it. So I'm trying to make it a little easier. So the next thing to do is to put on the final medallions, which will go, it says put it right underneath them. So I'm going to guess they go right here, just after the short rows. And probably they are meant to kind of fold in over here next to the double crochet cluster stitch like it is right here. Gonna get those sewn on, and then I'm gonna do the rest of the edging, and then we're gonna be done. Alright everybody, I've got the whole shawl up on the mannequin because I don't really have any other place to put it right now. It is an enormous project. This thing is too long to lay out on the bed. It's a big one. So, I mean, obviously you can tell that from the pattern photo, but just for confirmation purposes, it's a big one. I wanted to show you the final join of motifs here. So this light blue motif that you can barely see with the green center, that was the last one I showed you. This is the other small motif that you join down underneath the other small motif. God, the way this pattern is written, people, I can't even. It's been a couple of weeks, honestly, since I finished all of this, and I'm still annoyed. It's been a fucking trip. Anyway, so it goes in right under the other one, and I do need to let you know that I missed a step in joining this one. So the way that you join, you're supposed to join this and then do more short rows around the edge of it, so that there's short rows around this edge and this edge as well. I didn't notice that because it says to attach, and I was just like, okay, it's attached. Now let's just go and do the edging. So that is on me, but also there's no reason for there to be short rows in this pattern. Like, I don't know why they did that. It feels like it just feels so excessive, and especially like maybe in a couple of the other spots that you do the short rows they work, but and it's not that they don't work. It's just that like I put it together and then I worked on the edge and then I realized that like I was supposed to do the short row fanciness around this. And the thing is, if you just put both of them in at the same time, so this medallion and this medallion, you could have just done a single short row across them with just a little bit of explanation of like, place the first one, make sure there's, 6 stitches between them before you place the second one, and go. And that would have done the job. But instead, it was, okay, place the first one, do the short row stuff, place the second one. Oh, by the way, more fucking short rows. Yeah, I'm not over it. I'm clearly not over it. But it's done. Okay, the thing is fully done, and if I can get to the center here, I can show you. There it is. All right, so this, let's go all the way back. This is the circles that you started at the beginning, where you made the joined circles and then you put it aside. And so to attach this properly, first of all, I did a couple of rows of edging around the very top of the shawl that are not in the pattern. Okay, that is me. I did that. I think if you don't do what I did, you will get the middle large medallion, which is what this is over. This is, if you remember way back, well, I can't even show you now because it's all sewn in, but this purple here, that is the large medallion that goes in the center. And if you can, and if you look at the pattern photo, the weird elongated one in the center that looks kind of U-shaped, that's that one. And it wasn't until I finally laid these out on the back that I was like, oh, because it doesn't look like the large medallion for 95% of the project. Although I do think that if you, like I said, I did a couple of rows of decreases across the top of this, and I think if you just don't do that, just follow what the pattern says, I think the large medallion will be a little more obvious as to being the center of the thing before this stage. But Jesus Christ, it should not take that long. And you know what could have helped? A schematic. I'm still not over it. But important notes on this. To get this to lay out properly, what I did was first of all, I pinned it up here and I sewed the very top, and then I sewed the very bottom. It's way down here. And then I tried it on, and the sides just went bleh. So no, you do have to sew the entire length of the thing on both sides to get it to lay properly. But before I did that, I made sure to sew each medallion, each circle to the circle below it, so that it would stay nice and smooth down the back, and it would stay layered the way that it's supposed to. And then I sewed all the way down the edges and around the bottom, so that it would lay where it's supposed to lay on the back. And this was actually probably the easiest part of the whole damn thing, just because it was like, okay, it's attached here, let's just do the rest. I will cut away in a moment and show you what it looks like on. I just need more room than I have in here, because again, it's a beast. Something I do want to stress before we cut to that is my sewing skills are always something I'm a little concerned with when it comes to using sewing thread on crochet projects, because I'm all right. I know like 2 basic sewing stitches, and they tend to get me through. I got very concerned about this one holding its shape with all the medallions you have to sew together, and I over tightened my stitches. I have had to make several repairs already because the excess tension in my own hand stitching snapped the thread when the weight of this whole thing just did what weight does on stuff. So what you want to do when you're sewing it together, you want to keep things, you want the sides to touch. You want your medallion sides to touch. You do not want them to have a big tight hug, all right? Like, that's the best explanation I have for it. We're going for, you know, a subtle, like, we're going for like a Pride and Prejudice hand touch. We are not going for a real grip. You get me? And so what that's going to do is that's going to leave enough room in your sewing to allow for the medallions to pull and to shape the way that they're going to shape without snapping the sewing thread. That's one of those things you learn by doing. And something I've learned on repeat, as a matter of fact, because I always get a little worried and when that happens, my stitches get too tight. All right, so we have the whole thing. I'm going to get this on and stand somewhere where I can show you the whole thing, and then I do have a couple of notes about it in terms of, like, I want to run you through the pattern errors just in order, and I do want to talk about it as a whole project and, like, the aggravation, but also it's done. And just, you know, little stuff like that. So we're going to cut over to that, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, here we have the full view, and from the front. And boy, it would have been great to have a shot of the front so I would know which medallions went where. No, I'm never going to stop bitching about this, at least not in this video. So, you know, this is the final look, and I think this is meant to be exactly how it's worn. If you look at the pattern photo, I've got it down a little bit under my shoulders, and I think it's like right at the neck for the butterfly body, but, you know, it gets done. You get what it is. I'm a great big pretty butterfly. Sadly, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do with it, because this is not my usual style. If you've seen a lot of my videos, I don't do a lot of swoopy, sort of Stevie Nicks-ish stuff, but I do know several people who do, so I'm gonna try to gift it out, possibly with the warning that they might have to fix my intermittent sewing issues, but, was it worth the aggravation? On one side, yes, because I would like to see this made in, like, I think you could make this in a wool with the schematic that I made and, like, really enjoy yourself. On the other hand, without the information I have now gathered through trial and error, I think it would just be a huge headache for anyone. I know other people have managed to make it based on the pattern, and I saw one review that mentioned what a puzzle the pattern was, and I feel like that's indicative of what the whole experience was. So hopefully my long-winded rant and annoyance at all of this has helped you understand whether or not you have the stubbornness to go through the whole thing, although you can go through it with my notes, which include not just the schematic, which I have uploaded to my website, but also the errata, which we're going to go through right now. So I didn't count anything that was just like vague instructions. This is just actual stitch information that I caught being incorrect. And I cannot stress enough, this is in the original pattern. The pattern that I linked to is a recreation where the seller retyped the whole pattern, but she trusted that what was on the page was correct, so please do not get up our ass about it. Like, that's all we can do is trust what the pattern says. So first of all, in medium medallions, row 5 says 1 single crochet in next stitch, single crochet in next stitch, repeat from asterisk. The correction, it's 2 single crochet in the next stitch. So you just want to keep up with that. That one, that was a figure it out as I went, because that's how all the other medallions were getting made, so it didn't make sense that it was skipping. And then I was right. In the first edging section, so when you put those first row of medallions together and you're doing the edging, it says to complete 12 decreases in round 1. It's only 8. You are only decreasing over the join points between the medallions. There are only 8 of those. That then causes a misprint in the edging section round 2, first edging section round 2, where it says 14 decreases. It should be 10 based on the correction from the first round. And then in the final edging section, so this is when we're working on, I think this is when I'm working all the way around. It's in round 2, it says work 2 half double crochet in first double crochet, 2 double crochet, chain 4, 2 double crochet in next stitch, and then 2 double crochet in the following stitch. That last double crochet should be 2 half double crochet to match with the way the pattern actually works up. And finally, this one is a tiny one. It's last edging section, round 2, in next 12 stitches of double crochet, and that should be sets of double crochet. And of course, this is the errata page that I keep on my website, icrochetedthething.com. Vintage pattern errata. It'll be listed right there, along with ones I found in other patterns. So I'll have a link directly to the errata page in the basement, and that vintage pattern errata entry includes the link to the PDF of the schematic, so that you don't have to go through what I did and try to figure out what's supposed to be sewn to what. So yeah, that's this shit. And I'm gonna go take it off because it's like 70 degrees today and it's a little too warm. But anyway, if you enjoy what I do here, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, all of that fun stuff. If you do make this using my extra information, I would love to see it. I am on Instagram at icrochetedthething, so you can tag me there if you have an Insta. My email address is viewable to, I believe, subscribers. So if you're subscribed and you want to send me a photo, you can do it that way. You know, I would like to see it because I think it's fun once you understand how to do it, and I think it's really pretty and interesting. So like, there are positives. I just don't know what I'm going to do with it now. But I made it. And really, isn't that what we're here for? All right, I will see you when I see you.